This is a fan-generated show. If you'd like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our new Rumble channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm thrilled to announce the release of my new book, Obama's True Legacy, How He Transformed America. There's a reason why Mike Huckabee calls it a ferocious and chilling read. Order it now at Amazon.com or at FrontPageMag.com. Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, another fantastic program with another fantastic guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember we're a fan-generated program. We're only here because of you, and we're also still under persecution and shadow banning by the deep state on a million levels. So we need all the help we can get. Please go to YouTube and Rumble and subscribe to our channel. Press instant notifications. Go to jamieglazov.com. Subscribe to our newsletter there. Spend all your time on there. If you're in a giving mood, there's a donate button, please. Follow us at Jamie Glazov on X, Facebook, and Instagram. Most importantly, the one and only, the wonderful Annie Cyrus has a site called Live Up to Freedom. Support her there. What an honor and privilege to have a great guy with us tonight, intellectual and freedom fighter, Jeff Crouere. He's the host of the Louisiana-based program Ringside Politics, the author of America's Last Chance, and a million other great things. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Hey, Jamie, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Jeff, I read just a few sentences, but your bio is actually 78 pages. Do you want to maybe add a few things for now?
You're so kind, Jamie. I would just let people know that I'm a talk show host, commentator, columnist, and I was talking to Annie off the air about my next book I'm working on. And just if people want to know more, they can go to my website, which is my last name, crouere.net. Got some good stuff on there, Jamie. So thank you.
I've heard on the street from a few people that your book is actually about Annie and I and what great work we're doing, or am I incorrect?
That would take me a long time to list all the pages of wonderful accomplishments for you and Annie. I might be working on that another few years, Jamie.
Okay.
I've got to get this out quick.
All right. Well, we'll be watching for everything that you're doing and supporting you. Maybe I shouldn't be joking around today. Let's begin with the tragedy and the surfacing once again of diabolical evil in Minneapolis. A school gunman has accomplished his feat there. Let me give it to you. How do we start this discussion?
Jamie, it is another sick tale of someone that is mentally ill, who thinks is transgender, born a male, I guess, changed his name to a female name, considers himself, I guess, a woman. The transgender ideology is just so destructive. The last few of these mass shooters have been transgender shooters. This is the latest one. He left a manifesto that is, I can't even tell your audience the details because it's just so sick. He was satanic, someone who hated Donald Trump, hated Israel, had all kinds of, obviously, mental health issues. And had a mother that worked at that school. And he took it out on innocent children, killing 2, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, wounding 17 others, children, elderly people in their 80s were some of the victims. Attacking in a church, a place of worship, a place where people feel safe. And just once again, showing the mental health crisis that we have in this country, and we're not doing enough to protect our children. And the answer is not what the Democrats always say, Jamie, which is to take away guns. The answer is to protect our children.
Yeah.
And if they would have had an armed security guard there, this would not have happened. So it's just a tragic day, and obviously we need to pray for all those involved, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Absolutely. Hard to know where to start here. One thing I'd like to say is I'm trying to be a better Christian. So I was recently in church, and strange looking guy came in halfway through and looked like a member of the Religion of Peace, but it was a little bit disturbing. And we talked about it afterwards with some people, but he asked a few strange questions and then left. But I think something is coming to America, and it's escalating. And the synagogues have already, the Jewish people are facing it and have faced it. And I think it's going to start escalating, unfortunately, in the churches. So we just pray here. But I want to say something here. So, for instance, I watch a lot of stuff. You know, I keep an eye on everything. I'm a little bit of a student of sociology, one could say. But, you know, I watch, investigative Discovery too, the investigative shows. And I remember over the years, I would be watching, there's a serial killer. He goes to prison, and then he start wearing a dress and wanted to be called Kathy. And then there's this other serial killer, and then he wanted to be called Wanda. And this kind of, I started to notice there was a pattern. And it's very interesting how evil works. And I just want to say this, Jeff, that, as I'm getting older, just on a personal note, I'm a little bit more concerned about my soul. I'm a little bit more concerned about being a better person, thinking about the afterlife. And sinning is more serious than I thought it was when I was a kid, when I was younger. And when you read and when you study the theology, what the theologians say, what priests say, what pastors say, when we sin, demons attach themselves to us. It's very serious. And so there's certain kinds of sins. And so, we have to be sober about this and very serious about sinning. It's not just that we sin and blah, blah, blah. And yes, thank God for Jesus, and we can repent and we can decommission and cancel out a lot of oppression in the name of Jesus, all of that stuff, and thank God for Jesus. I'm going to try not to be too long here because I'm heading somewhere here with this. And a lot of the exorcists explain this. It's very scary stuff. And so there's certain sins where the demons can attach themselves, but some sins can be so evil and so serious that it opens up portals. And so the exorcists and theologians and religious faithful people, they say, for instance, don't play with the occult. Don't play with the Ouija boards and the tarot cards, all that stuff. That stuff is very dangerous. It opens up portals. Transgender. This is such an evil thing, and I've read quite a bit about this. Immediate possession. Immediate possession. And this is something that's not discussed. It cannot be discussed in our media. It can't be really discussed in our culture, because even the way the left reacts to this is, let's not be transphobic. It's not all. And really, it's just because this poor trans guy was oppressed and we need to start giving all that stuff, right? It's the exact opposite of what actually the problem is. But it is no coincidence that this guy, because they already saw his writings, his manifesto. It's no coincidence he hates Jesus, hates God, hates Donald Trump, hates conservatives, right, targets children, the most precious human beings to the Lord, the innocents. And Jesus reserved his greatest warning to the people that harm children. And so for Satan to attack children while praying at Mass in a Catholic church, this is no coincidence. This is just completely, it just makes complete sense. But everything I'm saying here, Jeff, is completely taboo in our civilization. And I don't make to maybe make, I don't mean to throw, I'm just throwing this on the table. You just react however, whatever you'd like to say.
And I think you made some very good points, Jamie, and I would just add a few. One is that I was watching some media coverage of this, and they wouldn't even go down the road of transgender. They were reluctant to talk about the fact that this individual was transgender. They're so worried about being called transphobic that they don't mention the reality of it. They talk about him having two names and changing their name. Well, why? Because he considered himself transgender, of course, but they won't say it. Secondly, years ago, Jamie, transgender was extremely rare. You didn't see transgender people very often. It was extremely rare. Then all of a sudden, you saw the media change, the politics change, the culture change, and the educational system change. And you have indoctrination going on in schools today where they're pushing this ideology. I just saw some figures that shows that the people that consider themselves trans skyrocketing in recent years. Why is that? I think it's because it's being pushed on impressionable young people, and they're distorting their minds. They're destroying these innocent souls, and they're turning them into basket cases and people that are susceptible to satanic influences and all the other evil that is involved. So I blame a lot of the people that are pushing this, the far left that has created this. I know Barack Obama pushed this in the military when he was president. I'd never heard of trans in the military before Barack Obama started pushing that. And now we're having to deal with this. Jamie, it's been unleashed on us here.
Yeah.
And, we've got to be honest and direct about what is going on.
You know, and I read some of this stuff about this, you know, they say, well, I started praying to the devil and gave my life to Satan, and then all of a sudden I started hearing noises and voices to go kill people. Yeah. So everybody go to frontpagemag.com and read Robert Spencer's recent article on this at Front Page Mag, and he points something out. He points out that the popular Libs of TikTok X account pointed something out today, a certain pattern. Minnesota church shooting today, trans. Republican Party firebombing, gender fluid. Nashville shooter, trans. Colorado Tesla arsonist, trans. Colorado Springs shooter, non-binary. Aberdeen shooter, trans. Denver school shooter, trans. Iowa school shooter, trans and gender fluid. AMC stabber, trans. Are we starting to see a pattern?
Yes.
And for me, and people, you know, will obviously call me a religious fanatic and living in the twilight zone, but I've made my point that I see a satanic possession here through, because God created man and woman. And Satan and that whole Baphomet thing, he very much wants to destroy God's creation and gender. Man become woman, woman become male. And so something's going on here and the evil begins. Let's let our wonderful and brilliant Annie Cyrus into this discussion. Annie, what do you make of it all?
Well, thank you for including me. This has been something interesting. I have monitored all the comments, all the reports, and if you don't mind me coming in with a kind of close to what you're saying, but a different point of view, I looked at every possible picture released of his weapons, and I zoomed in and I looked at everything written on them. And when you zoom back, it screams red-green axis in front of you. From the comment or the writing of 6 million wasn't enough to Israel must fall, to the very correctly spelled in English, MashaAllah, at the bottom of the gun. I'm pretty sure this guy was most likely not even a full convert Muslim, But here's where I'm going with this. The red-green axis has been allowed to practice openly in United States of America for so long. Our campuses, our colleges, our city halls, our police departments, everywhere. Their narrative has been fed so deeply into minds of those, as I mentioned on my Substack about this, internet or communities cannot make you a killer. You have to have the hate and evil inside you to use that as an excuse to become a killer. The red-green axis narrative is literally spreading so much lies and hate that these people don't even know the difference between Jews, Israel, Zionism, and two innocent Catholic children. The lines are blurring, and not enough people are paying attention. Yes, it is important that he was godless. Yes, it is important that I guess he had mental issues. But to me, I guess I'm biased, but the most important part is the red-green narrative out there is targeting and trapping those who are satanic, who are mentally ill, who are lost. And as long as we allow red-green axis to continue running in this country, we're gonna have shooters like him and innocent bloods on the floors of our synagogues and churches.
Thank you, Annie. Jeff?
Yeah, that's well said. I would just like to add 2 points. And one is this, that we need to do a better job of protecting our children. We need metal detectors in these schools. We need guards outside the schools. We need guards at special events when they go to church, when they go on field trips. We can't allow these children to be sitting ducks for these lunatics to kill innocent children. I would also say that I'm glad that at least the information was out there so people could understand who this individual was. Remember in the case of Nashville? Well, by the way, one of the people killed there was a friend of mine because I went to college in Nashville. And it took months to get years to get the manifesto of that killer completely published. They hid that from us. They don't want us to know the truth. So we're constantly battling these forces that want to shield us from the truth about this transgenderism, that, as you say, all these killers, and you're not going to hear the media say that, Jamie, all these mass shootings committed by people that are quote unquote transgender. So we need the information. We need to see what these people are about, how they're created, what their motivation is, so that we can protect ourselves to make sure that our kids are safe and that this is called out for what it is. So, hopefully we can start protecting our children better. We got a true idiot as the governor of Minnesota, someone who has not been responsive to the calls from the independent schools and the Catholic schools in Minnesota that asked for more security, fell on deaf ears. They want to blame guns, Jamie. That's what they want to say. They want to take away our guns. And we got to fight them, because that's the reason we're free, is because we have a Second Amendment. Look at all these other countries around the world, Australia and the UK, where they don't have a Second Amendment. Those populations are in total crisis right now.
I 100% agree with everything you said, Jeff. And I will say I agree. But one of the major ways we can not just protect our children, but protect ourselves, our citizens, is also by calling out the enemies. Because there's more than one, unfortunately, at the moment. You just brought up Minnesota and the governor. We do realize very soon here, Minneapolis might have a mayor who's going to turn things into worse for Minneapolis. Talk about Fateh, the socialist Islamist candidate. We can protect our children and ourselves by starting to pinpoint everything that happens and call it exactly what. I love how Jamie just did that. Satanic. The Well, if they're part of LGBTQ or this and that, we're to love the sinner, not the sin. All of that softened tone needs to stop. Yes, mental health and mental illness exist. Most of us suffer from it. Okay, I'm just going to play this card for a minute. I come from a childhood of rape, abuse, child bride, torture. Why am I not out there killing people, Jeff? Why am I not there hating people, Jamie? Because first of all, I turned to God for healing. Secondly, I took the proper steps of seeing a therapist and learning about the new life that was given to me. I even sometimes feel like we're normalizing the mental health issue as well.
Annie, I just want to add, Annie, thank you. I just want to add something, because don't be so humble, because I want to add one thing. Annie, you read the New Testament and you genuinely, with your beautiful heart, believe in the New Testament. These people are reading the Quran and they're listening to the rhetoric of Pelosi, Waters, Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer. And that's what I want to talk a bit about. The rhetoric coming out of these people's mouths about fighting in the streets and Trump is a fascist, because those words have consequences. And so this unholy alliance with Islam and the left, the things that they are reading and the things that you and I and Jeff are reading and praying about, it's two separate things, right?
Absolutely. And that's my point. If we, those of us that know better and we know the truth, we need to be more blunt. We need to be more direct. We need to stop being sensitive around topics, closing it in. Those are our responsibility to help protecting ourselves, our children, next generation freedoms in our country.
Yeah.
There are so many things that could be done to stop what happened in Minnesota. And I feel like we all failed, including this man who's running to become the mayor. He needs to be exposed on a daily basis instead of cheered. Or let's not say things about him because we're not racist, we're not Islamophobes. I am. If calling this man and his ideology of a socialist Muslim makes me racist or Islamophobe, so be it. I will proudly be those.
Jamie and Annie, I would just say this. I think you're right about that candidate. I mean, he's a danger. The other problem is that, the mayor right now is the same guy who delivered us a city that was in flames after George Floyd, who showed no leadership and allowed his city to burn. And this guy today, Jacob Fry, castigated people that wanted to pray. He said, don't give us your thoughts and prayers. That's the best thing that we can do, as we know, is to pray. Prayer is the answer. Prayer is what we have to fight the devil with, and we have to fight communism with. And he was mocking it. And that's the problem we have in New York with Andrew Cuomo, a serial adulterer and a harasser who's running against Mondani. There are no good candidates on the Democrat side. You just go from bad to worse. And these cities keep electing these people that are destroying their cities. Minneapolis is destroyed. New York is in the process of being destroyed. All around the country with these Democrat mayors in these blue cities, which is why Trump is trying to do something about them to save them. It's just the same thing. These leaders are atrocious. They're destroying their cities. And this guy today infuriated me with his flippant comments about thoughts and prayers in the aftermath of this true tragedy.
Yes, but here's another thing. Again, our leaders on the federal level, Congress especially, I think we have a good handful of good Congress members. I can think of a handful. But Jeff, within our Constitution, it is very well said and completely clear that no foreign law shall be practiced in the United States of America, correct? If you're a socialist, that's a foreign law. If you're a Muslim, that's Sharia, Islamic law. We need them to enforce the law. Therefore, they can't run it. Therefore, they won't be elected. Therefore, they can't destroy our cities. You see what I mean? We have the solutions. We don't have enough manpower to implement the solutions.
Well, and here's the problem, Annie. The Democrat Party is moving further and further to socialism. So instead of realizing what you're saying and realizing the problems of socialism, they're embracing it. So you just saw this convention where they talked about, as Jamie said, their anger and their hatred toward Donald Trump and their embrace of these progressive socialist policies that don't work anywhere here in this country, anywhere in the world. Socialism doesn't work, but that's what they're embracing. So it's a party that is sick and a party that is going in the wrong direction.
Amen, 100%. So that's where I'm an independent, but we need to hold our representatives accountable okay, Republicans are majority, aren't they right now?
Yes.
Implement the law. If you're a Democrat, fine. If you're a Democrat, socialist, Democrat, anything else, you are fired and you cannot run because the Constitution says so. But we don't have enough Republicans either. We have plenty of rhinos out there.
Yes.
Too many. Too many rhinos, right?
Thank you so much, Jeff and Annie. And so, I got a bit of a chip on my shoulder against the conservatives who criticize me for what I'm about to say, because there's a lot of people that are, oh, Jamie, you're so pessimistic. You have to be positive. Don't be a defeatist. They don't understand. I do threat assessment, and I believe in being honest. If a ship is sinking, you have to be honest about it. And if we're honest about the fact that we're losing, that's the only way that maybe we can win. And so there were leftist Jews at one time that were saying, let's give Gaza to them and everything will be okay. They were the Jews that were hurting the Jewish people. And there are those among us that want to remain willfully blind. And where we're at right now, Jeff and Annie, and people don't like to hear what I have to say, but we will lose. We will lose if we have to keep putting the word radical in front of Islam. If we have to continue lying about this trans thing and et cetera, et cetera. So the left controls the boundaries of our discourse. Europe's already gone. And so if we live in a society where this trans guy did this today, and our answer as a society is not to say, oh, it's a trans guy. Well, of course, the moment you start playing with the gender and become trans, you're probably going to start shooting people because you're demonically possessed. This should not be happening. I'll be marginalized. Maybe soon I won't even be allowed on the YouTube. Well, YouTube's already, we're not allowed on there for a million reasons, saying certain stuff. But what I'm saying is not allowed. But in general, where our culture is at is, oh, this guy is trans, but hey, it doesn't mean it's about the trans people. And then when people hear about the Muslim rape gangs, the immediate reaction in our culture is not sympathy and empathy for the victims of the rapes, but immediately to say, but not all Muslims do that, and it's not Islam, those are the extreme, all of that stuff, right? So as long as we're doing that, we're sinking. And a lot of people don't like to hear that. And so we will continue to sink until our civilization has the intestinal fortitude and courage to say some of these things. And so in Brothers Karamazov, there's a big question. Who killed Father Karamazov? Who killed the Fyodor Karamazov? Was it the person who killed him, or was it the person who gave the killer the idea? And so I just want to get back to a minute. Okay, so this trans guy pulls the trigger. Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, what's been coming out of their mouth for years paves the road to what we're seeing today. Jeff?
Right, and I really trace the real boosterism of transgenderism to Barack Obama. And it's just been growing and growing and growing since then. And now, of course, they're celebrated, and you can't tell the truth like you just said. And that's what we need to tell the truth. And here's an example. This guy obviously had been showing disturbing signs for probably years. Did any of his friends, family, co-workers contact anyone? Was anybody that came into contact with this guy and knew that he was a potential killer alerting anyone about this?
Now, let's not be transphobic.
Or did they all, because they're so worried about being called transphobic, say nothing? And I bet you they said nothing because they were afraid. And that's what's got to end, Jamie. We can't have people afraid of telling the truth about what is going on, because you could save lives if you're truthful and you deal in reality as opposed to the fiction of what this is all. Oh, this is fine. Alternative lifestyle. No, it's extremely dangerous.
Yes, but
we've seen it now for years.
And Jeff, you're completely correct, and I just don't see this changing. The left has such a grip on the culture, and but I hope that it will. But Robert Spencer points out in his article today, everybody's got to go to front page, read Robert Spencer, but he talks about Kathy Griffin holding Trump's bloody severed head. Remember? Madonna saying she wants to blow up the White House. Robert De Niro talking about how he wants to punch Trump in the face. They're the ones saying we're violent, but they are fertilizing the soil of what happened today. Annie?
Absolutely. And we also have Ilhan Omar, who called America the main terrorist. And we have the very left that they deny Holocaust, but then they call us Nazis, right? Make that one make sense, please. But the problem is, Jamie, yes, the narrative is controlled by left, which is the red. Yeah, I mean, you know this way better than I do, but in your presence, I will dare talk about it. They have a grip on the narrative. And then green, the Muslims, are using this narrative to be the soldiers of Allah, taking people out. Now, the question, though, problem is, one, I'm sorry, but with presence of internet, social media, Instagram, TikTok, all of these short clips of whatever it is, the majority of population has been dumbed down not to think further than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And that is where the main problem is. I was asked recently, why have you dropped all of your platform and only focusing on Substack? I said, because at least I know people on Substack are intelligent enough to look for reading and analysis, and they don't get bored after 5 words. They don't need a limited 180 characters of a tweet. That's what's so exciting about the existence of this platform, because I know people who are on the other side haven't been dumbed down and dragged into what is trending. I'm going to believe it. That's where it's at. What's trending? Whatever is trending, we believe. Right now, free Palestine, wipe Israel off the map is trending. We have conservatives, quote unquote conservatives, who are becoming the worst anti-Semites out there.
Thank you so much. Jeff, go ahead.
No, I think Annie's right. I mean, we've got a lot of problems on our side. There's a lot of division. There's a lot of turmoil going on, and we don't have a lot of people thinking through these issues. And it's, it starts from the kind of culture we have where everyone wants instant gratification. Everyone's glued to their phone. They don't understand the issues. They don't study the issues. It's all very cursory, passing. So we've got an education problem. We've got a problem in our schools. That's why on my program, I have a lot of folks who advocate homeschooling, because it's a great alternative to what indoctrination is going on in our school systems today. And these kids really learn, and they really learn about our Constitution that we were talking about earlier. They'll really learn about what's going on around the world. And that's because the parents are teaching them, people that really care about these kids. So that's going to be a trend that hopefully will continue to grow.
Thank you so much, Jeff and Annie. Jeff, both of you, I often don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not giving grades here. I'm more just giving compliments to my colleagues of how brilliant you guys are. So thank you. And what you're saying, Jeff, and also what Annie was saying about the unholy alliance, I think is also crucial here, because when I'm talking about this cosmic spiritual battle, surprise, surprise, it's of course at Jesus Christ, of course the Catholic Church, of course children, but Annie is stressing unholy alliance, and Israel is part of this too, right? And so he's talking about Israel. So the people that God chose to bring the message of his moral law to the world, the Jewish people that play in our Christian understanding a key role in salvation. Because as we know, not just throughout history, this is a very complicated thing, but even in the end times, that the Jewish people play a very crucial role in Jesus' second coming. And this is for another time and place, but Satan does not have access to complete divine wisdom. So he thinks that if he can kill all the Jewish people, he can stop the second coming. So we have the Holocaust through Nazism. Now we're having another attempt at a Holocaust, and we always have through Islam. So there's no coincidence here that this guy hates Israel, and there's no surprise that the left hates Israel. But just let's just focus for a minute on this hatred of Israel as well. And we see it, Jeff. We see this rising anti-Semitism, of course, always on the left, of course, always in Islam. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, people that used to be our allies, turning against Israel now. Even Megyn Kelly was saying a couple things that were a little bit eyebrow-raising. Something's going on, right?
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, so you do have folks that are critical. And here's what I say. Israel is the one democracy surrounded by enemies. As you said earlier, they gave up land in a quest for peace. That turned out to be disastrous, okay? Because that's where the terror attack was launched from, Gaza. Every time they've tried to capitulate and negotiate with these enemies around them, it has come back to harm them. So what they have to do is destroy them. They've got to destroy Hamas. That's the only way Gaza can be rebuilt. That's the only way they can have any kind of livable conditions in Gaza. I understand the families of the hostages are very vocal. I understand that it's a very tough situation. But how many more people are going to be killed if Hamas is allowed to continue as a terrorist organization? So they've done a great job, scuttling the plans of Hezbollah. Iran is probably in the most weakened position it's been in years. The Houthis have been attacked by both the U.S. and Israel. So they have been limited in their effectiveness. So they've got to finish off Hamas. This has got to happen. That's the only way we can move forward with the discussion over there. So I'm wishing them success in this operation that they're engaged in. And I would hope that we would stand firm with them. And I know President Trump will, because I know that Israel's never had a better ally in the White House than Donald Trump. And I don't think that can be debated.
Yes, and this is such a tough subject, Jeff, because, okay, some things that Megan was saying, okay, we get that. Look, there's also a deep state in Israel. This is the thing. There's a deep state here. There's a deep state there. I have many Jewish friends that are fighting the deep state in Israel, and they even whisper to me, Jamie, we can say this, but you and Christians can't because you'll be labeled anti-Semitic. But we're trying to fight the deep state here. Why I'm bringing this up is, yes, there are sometimes, of course, certain questions that need to be asked and certain criticisms that can be made. If there's certain forces, let's say, that are trying to control American politics or American foreign policy, should we have an open discussion about that? Absolutely. But what I always stress is it doesn't mean that we turn against Israel. We have to keep in mind that there's forces within Israel Like I said, the Jews that gave Gaza to the enemy. There are forces in Israel, and they're called the Erev Rav, that are operating against the interests of Israel and against the Jewish people. So often the critics of these things, they confuse this thing, because no matter what criticisms that we can make of some layers of the Israeli government or what's happening with Israel, I think that as Christians, I believe that we always have to not confuse that with God's covenant with Israel and with Abraham and his promise towards Abraham. And in Romans, it stresses very strongly that God will always have a covenant with Israel. It's for all time. That's where this replacement theology and this replacement theory that they have is very fundamentally wrong, but that's for another show. But I'm just saying that whatever criticisms one can make of some layers that are deep state in Israel or maybe not attractive or bad things, we have to remember that that doesn't disqualify Israel or stop us from supporting the Jewish people.
And I want to commend Ambassador Huckabee, who has called out the government for certain things that have been done to Christians.
Yes.
And we've got to be honest. I mean, if there are mistakes made by that government in how they're treating Christians, there was a recently an attack again that where Christians were killed. It was by mistake, but I mean, obviously, we've got to be able to have the honest discussion and call it out. But overall, I mean, there's just no comparison when you look at what the Israeli government can provide for us as far as being an ally compared to what's around them and the enemies around them.
Yes.
And I do think President Trump has made tremendous progress with the Abraham Accords. And I'm hoping that we can extend that to other countries so that we can bring about peace in this region. I think it's possible, Jamie. I really do.
Yeah, Annie, you're very strong on this because you are very pro-Israel, very Jewish, pro-Jewish people. But you also have said many times we have to, if there's certain layers within the Israeli government or among the Jewish community that are negative, we have to call it out, right?
Absolutely, and
without being afraid of being labeled anti-Semitic. This is
thank you. I was just about to say the thing is this is as probably our audience are not ready to hear the next sentence, but bear with me until I finish the point. The phrase anti-Semitism has been weaponized, not by Jewish people, no, by us, by Westerners. First of all, anti-Semitism is when you're hostile towards a Jewish person, not when you criticize a Jew. There's criticism, there's being hostile. There's a difference. Secondly, us Christians, we know for fact that the first person who criticized the government of Jews was Jesus Christ himself. He stood up to the Pharisees. He called them out for their wrongdoings, for their misunderstanding and self-interpretations of God's words. Yeah. Who are we not to criticize when they're doing it wrong? However, our duty as Christians...
And Annie, so sorry to interrupt, and to remember that Jesus was Jewish, his mom was Jewish, and I'll put it in present tense, is Jewish, and most of the disciples were Jewish. Go ahead.
Exactly. And now our duty is to protect the land. There is no questions, ifs and buts about that. We have to protect it. Every time I've been told that, fine, let's be pro-Israel. We can sell them as many weapons as they need and we can be done with it. No, we cannot. We need to protect that land. The Holy Land has to be protected. And this is where I will very respectfully, Jeff, disagree with your last sentence. There is no possible way to achieve permanent peace with Muslims. There just isn't. Mm-hmm. There are so many proven historical facts that they will shake your hand today, and when they regroup and when they regain their power, they will come and stab you in the back. They have done it over and over. What I suggest is, instead of negotiating with Hamas and disarming Hezbollah and coming to ceasefire with Houthis, this is where we actually need to leave it at. We should have done it. We didn't. That's all right. But we need to learn that whenever the government of Israel and Israel military is ready to go back and continue the 12 days war with Iran, let them finish it. Don't save Khamenei's life. That man should not be breathing today. I still want to know what was Trump administration reasoning behind keeping him safe. There is not a single rational, emotional, logical, constitutional, nor biblical reason to keep that man alive while millions of Iranians were breathing the freedom next to them. The entire Middle East was about to achieve permanent peace. We saved the one man who has avoided possibility of peace in Middle East for 47 years. We need to go and take out the head of the snake. And again, it's been proven Khamenei or IRGC, Islamic Republic of Iran's government, needs to be taken out. Until that day, all of these deals and handshakes and photo ops are nothing but a bunch of band-aids. We're going to start bleeding again and again and again.
Well, I mean, I'm certainly not going to argue with what you're saying there, Annie, and I agree with you. I don't think there's going to ever be total peace. I guess my point was I do think there's a possibility for these Abraham Accords to be expanded and that there be more countries that will recognize Israel just because it's in their self-interest. I mean, the 4 Arab countries that signed the original Abraham Accords did it because they believed it was in their self-interest to do so. And I think the president can be successful with others, including possibly even Saudi Arabia. But yeah,
absolutely.
I mean,
how many countries did you say they have signed the Abraham Accords?
4. There's 4.
In return, literally in 8 days from today, 17 European countries are going to acknowledge Palestine as a country. 17 versus 4. You see where my problem is?
Right. And yeah, these European countries are lost, most of them. The UN is lost. Those are epicenters of anti-Semitism. And that's, as you're talking about, hostility. And that's, why I've called for us to get out of the UN, because we're funding an anti-Semitic organization to the tune of $13 billion a year. We're paying 25% of their total budget. And these are the kind of things that they do. And in fact, some of the members of the UN are involved with the attack on Israel, part of the Hamas terror organization. So yeah, it's not surprising that these European nations are involved in this, and they're lost, as Jamie was saying. I think they're lost.
Let me jump in for a second. I think
I made a mistake. I'm sorry. One of those countries is actually Canada, not Europe, but Canada.
Canada's lost too. Yeah, right.
What I would say, just for a second, not necessarily in defense of Jeff, I think we're all together here. I don't think this is mutually exclusive, because where Jeff is going, if I can speak for him a minute, tell me if I'm mistaken. But, look, during the Cold War, there were some very brilliant people, including Ronald Reagan and Nixon. And were they really trying to make peace with China? No, they were splintering the Soviet bloc. So we put this out there. So with these accords and what Trump is doing, if it's not done out of naivete, Islam, and they're going to be peaceful, if we can kind of be shrewd about it and kind of bring a peace, but shed the light on the bad actors, divide them a little bit, set them against each other a little bit, there might be a shrewd strategy behind this. So if that exists, maybe there's some legitimacy there, Annie?
Yes,
Yeah.
And I see where you're going and where Jeff was going with it, but I take it back to my question is still, why did we save Khamenei's life?
No,
Let's make those deals. That's fine. But here's another problem. The division is already there. For example, the countries that have signed the peace deal, they are already against, Iran and Houthis and, Hezbollah. So my point is, yes, we can continue. And also, let's stop Europe from undoing what President Trump is doing. I would personally, I would say any country, Europe, Canada, Mexico, I don't, whichever country, anybody who goes ahead and acknowledges Palestine as a nation, as a country, we will put sanctions on them for supporting terrorism, because
Right.
that's what they're doing. We need to push really hard. I feel like we have one win with one of these signs or one of these handshakes, but then on the other hand, our administration goes and give them a bigger win by saving Khamenei or getting ceasefire from Israel in 12 days against Iran. That the balance seems to be not on the right side.
Yeah.
Like we need to push a little
Well,
harder.
and I hear what you're saying, Annie, but let me just defend President Trump for a second here and say that he did something that none of these other presidents have done, and that is attacked Iran. I mean, nobody else has taken out their nuclear facilities. It was President Trump that did that. So the big debate is how far back did we set them? You know, weeks, months, years. But we certainly degraded their capabilities. And I certainly think he sent a message to the theocratic leadership there that we mean business. So I certainly give him credit for doing that.
Oh,
yes.
I'm with you. I give him credit for doing that as well. And I give our man and woman in uniform for carrying out the attack. It was flawless.
Right.
It was spotless. But let's look at the message we gave them right after that. Literally after that, we got them a ceasefire from Israel while they were done. After we attacked their nuclear sites, within a week, they would be done. But this isn't about President Trump. I want to be very clear, because I credit him when he's doing great and I criticize him when he doesn't, because that's how we, the people, run the country.
Right.
This isn't about President Trump, but it feels like the signals were a little too mixed. I can take you out, but I won't. But why? It's kind of like an on and off relationship. It's like, okay, I love you, but I'm going to dump you so you would appreciate what I am capable. I'm like, we need to be firm.
Let's give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because I think a lot of times he's looking far ahead. He's making some decisions with information that we don't have, that possibly he has. There might have been some reasons for what he did. But we can all agree that he's degraded their nuclear capabilities, set them back significantly, and certainly sent a message that we're not hesitant to attack them in the future. And we might very well do that, Annie. I mean, at some point in the near future, he might decide, all right, we're gonna take out that Ayatollah and help install a new government there. For some reason, he didn't decide to do it at that time.
I think that you're right, until the regime in Iran came out and put a $2 million bounty on President Trump's head. Day after, we should go back in and attack. Mm-hmm. My point is, we respond strong at times, but then too soft at other times. We are sending too many mixed signals, and we need to be way more firm. We shouldn't. You put a $2 million bounty on my head, and you put up a public website when people are donating from everywhere, including United States of America. You have leftists or Muslims from America donating to that campaign. That's enough reason. Even if we don't want to go back, we can say, you know what, BB, green light, go back in.
I mean, I think he can go back whenever he wants, because, they didn't even fire at our stealth bombers. I mean, there was zero response to our attack. I mean,
but the question is this about President Trump, or is this about United States of America standing strong, showing the enemies that we don't play games? I know he can go back in whenever he wants, but we're talking about, first of all, we're talking about Israel constantly taking hits because U.S. constantly buy time for the enemy. This isn't about Trump administration from 73 years ago until today. We keep jumping in every time Israel is to finish Hamas or Hezbollah. We can admit to that. We have bought way too many lifelines for the Islamic terrorists who are constantly attacking Israel. So we're holding Israel back. We're also taking away the Iranian people's hope for change. If we're about to be honest, when Obama did it, we were all out there screaming. When Biden turned his back to people of Iran during Massa Amini, we criticized him.
Mhm.
We need to be fair. People of Iran were close to have their freedom, and
Right.
President Trump threw the regime a lifeline. We can't pick and choose where we credit constantly and not criticize factually.
Well, again, I will say he did a lot more than anybody else. He degraded them a lot more than anybody else.
But that's safety
I
for
certainly
maybe
think
us.
he created an environment where hopefully internally these dictators can be overthrown. And
But that's the thing. There are reported 230 Iranians hung since day after ceasefire until today under accusation of spying for Israel.
right.
Okay.
What about them?
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, Jeff, go ahead. Let's give you the word, and then I'm going to close up here.
No, I would just say this. I understand where Annie's coming from. I understand that that regime is still in power. But I do think this president has been far superior than any other president in dealing with this threat. And I do think, I just heard him recently saying that he is, thinks Israel should take care of whatever they need to in Gaza. So I don't think he is constraining them, certainly like Joe Biden did. So I think hopefully we can see some kind of progress in this. I guess I'm very trusting of what he's accomplished so far and hopeful that we can see more progress. But I do agree, we're not there, and we got a lot of work ahead of us. And these are very evil, dangerous people that are still in place in Iran and certainly in Gaza. No doubt about it.
And he deserves a lot of credit. I love Trump. I was very disappointed that he left a wounded beast in power. It appears that he had restrained Netanyahu, and it would have been wonderful if they had overthrown this evil regime. But we all know where we stand here, and Trump, like Jeff says, deserves a lot of credit. And our time is up. I'm a little bit disappointed with the both of you because you haven't brought up the most, I think, important event of last week, which was Taylor Swift announced on Instagram that she and Chiefs star tight end Travis Kelce are engaged to be married. Jeff, your thoughts on that?
Well, I thought you were going to say the biggest story was Melania Trump being on the cover of Vanity Fair, maybe.
Okay.
And the whole staff of Vanity Fair threatening to quit. But no, I'm not a big fan. I know President Trump was saying so many nice things. I'm not a big fan of either one of these people. Taylor Swift is this liberal, pop star, and then Kelce was the guy trying to get us all to get jabs. I remember him running around with the Pfizer commercial with his Band-Aid telling us to get vaccinated. So I don't like either one of them, Jamie.
Annie, not to minimize or trivialize the sacred importance of everything we were talking about, but just your thoughts on Swift and Kelce getting married?
Who are they? Congratulations to whomever they are.
Okay, so Jeff, where can people find you?
Thanks for having me, Jamie. Yes, I would encourage people to check out my website, which is cruere.net, CROUERE.net. And we have all kind of good stuff on there. Love for people to get involved. And follow me on all the social media sites. We have all the links there for people to check out. And Thanks again.
Annie, you are absolutely wonderful. Jeff Crouere, you are wonderful. And we'll see you soon. Okay, Jeff? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Glazov Gang this evening. Good night.